Hi everybody. I wanted to make a video while I'm on my way to the park, and someone just looked at me. Yeah, so this video is basically going to be my encouragement for you in allowing yourself to occupy that space between letting go of what you know doesn't work for you and drawing in what's actually compatible with you. This energy, these messages, these themes of attraction and magnetizing and letting go of things that maybe are like kind of right but or almost perfect but not exactly a fit for you. Letting go of those things, and I mean that's a whole video in and of itself. That's a whole process. And then there's the trusting. There's the active letting go. And in the active space, in the space of actively letting go, there is the need to surrender, the need to trust, and the need to kind of water your faith. Because faith is active, faith is not passive or dormant. So you can't necessarily, I kind of lost my words there, but yeah, faith is something that needs to be like exercised. When you really trust something and want something and believe in something, you know, I think there are Bible verses that say, I don't know their exact words, but basically the message is have faith and it shall be delivered. And faith means diligence, and diligence means trusting, like having faith. And so you do the thing that's scary to do, but you actively let go. You actively make that phone call that scares you. You actively talk to the person. You actively go here instead of there when you want something. Like, I don't know, faith looks different from person to person, situation to situation, depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve or get. But what I'm trying to say is that it's an action, and when you act in alignment with your faith, you create the space in your energy sphere to welcome in the thing that you are holding out for. And that requires surrendering. It requires surrendering your sense of familiarity and grasping, because the ego is designed to keep you safe and to keep you in a place that's familiar and to keep you alive and away from danger. Because once upon a time, hanging out in the cave protected you from being seen by a mammoth who might have trampled you, or a tiger who might have tried to hunt you, you know what I mean? But we live in a world now where that is not a threat, and the threats that exist in the world, at least in my, privileged world, in my physically safe world, are threats to injuring my ego, which really is not a deterrent in the name of choosing God, choosing faith, choosing what I really desire in the face of being criticized or being judged or being misunderstood. All of those things are so like speck of dust sized in comparison to, being favored by God, being supported by God, having faith in God. And that's what I mean, having faith. Okay, so I want to encourage you, if you're in a position in your life right now where you know that there's something, whether it's a behavior, a habit, a thought process or pattern, a lifestyle, a relationship, a physical item, a location that you live in, anything that you know that's not exactly right, and comparing that thing that doesn't quite fit into your life to a puzzle piece. It's like, imagine you have two puzzle pieces and they fit almost perfectly together, but one of them has a little nodule that is like a millimeter too long to fit in the receptive space in the other puzzle piece, but every other detail fits. The image even matches up perfectly. But that one tiny detail makes it so that it compromises the integrity of the entire picture of harmony, okay? So if this came across you, if this video found you, if you found this video, perhaps it's, especially if you've been hearing this message over and over, or thinking this to yourself, you know, this is meant to be confirmation, perhaps, that, you know, maybe it is time to decide to let that thing go. Let that thing go and learn how to occupy that space of surrender, that space of faith. And I'm promising you now, and I'm telling you and encouraging you and reminding you what you probably already know, and that is, when you make room for the thing that you really, really, really feel called to receive in your soul, that you were designed to long for, to want, to dream about, you were designed with this desire that doesn't go away over time, it only gets stronger. When you let go of the things that hinder you from having what you really believe in, what you really desire, you make the space. And there might be feelings of emptiness in the beginning, and of course grief is very natural and very welcome and very much going to come when you let go of, you know, things that no longer fit or work. But in that in-between space, I feel like peace can come in, and you start to realize, you start to feel this feeling of like, wow, like my energy is protected, and I'm no longer draining it on trying to force this 1 millimeter that makes the whole thing not work. I'm no longer wasting energy trying to push it into place when it's never going to budge. And if I cut it up and change it, then that wouldn't be the true essence of what it is. I want the thing that fits right off the bat, you know what I mean? So when you get to this place where you let go of these things that get between you and having what you dream about, it brings about a lot of peace. And eventually you'll start to see little things, little signs that come to you, and they tell you and they show you that you have it coming, you know what I mean? Like you're starting to attract the thing, and you no longer have to exert an unnatural amount of effort in order to draw in what it is that you really, really want. I was just at the gas station, and I don't really know how to tell the story exactly, but I live in a town right now while I'm healing. I'm here for my oxygen therapy primarily, and then I'm gonna leave to my ideal landscape. But I'm not living right now in my ideal landscape. To be honest, I hate it here, but I have a trajectory, and I'm being patient while I heal and really protect my spirit, my heart, my desires, and cultivate my faith. So I have my own world of peace, you know, that I've been creating and cherishing over here. But one of the things that I hate about this place is how I don't feel safe or comfortable in my own skin when I walk around the city. I'm not a city person, and there's a lot of predatory energy over here, a lot. And you know, I've spent a lot of years here when I was younger and still living with my mom, and kind of more dependent on her. I lived in this neighborhood, and I couldn't walk outside of my house without getting some kind of either energy or blatant harassment thrown my way. And, you know, I remember I had this friend who tried to encourage me to be more in my skin and confident, like on the beach, you know what I mean? But I always felt so uncomfortable, because being out, for me, I want that to be an experience of soul level freedom and ease. I want to feel that peace just radiating and humming in my nervous system. I want to feel that blissful, gorgeous, expansive, serene, peaceful feeling when I step outside my house. And I have lived in areas where I felt that every single time I left my house, and I know what that's like, you know? So it's not in my head, it's not something I'm like fooling myself trying to convince that it exists, when really it doesn't. It does. I know this not only because I've experienced it, but because it's something that I desire, and so I went to seek it out. But here, I have never ever felt that way. So it takes a toll, but I find ways to stay balanced. Like right now, I'm driving to my favorite park. I'm gonna ride my bike, listen to podcast type videos, listen to music, and it's my safe place. And the people there are always respectful and nice, and I feel safe there. But I don't feel safe walking around outside my house in this place. So, you know, and this friend years ago was trying to encourage me to be more outgoing, I guess, or confident. And I spent a lot of time forcing that. And I broke my shell over and over and over, trying to project this aura of, you know, unfazed, I'm confident, I'm protected. But the fact is that I am a soft, sensitive, intuitive, psychic, emotional woman. And I'm also a very fiery woman, you know, and I care about justice, and I care about speaking the truth, and I don't like to, when it's appropriate and when it's not putting me in harm's way, I don't like to back down from speaking the truth. But if I know someone's gonna, you know, try to fight me, or they're not receptive per se, then it's not worth it to me. And it's actually you know, instructed in the Torah, like, you are not allowed, it's Jewish law that you are not allowed to give feedback to someone who you know is not going to be receptive to it. But this is also a nuanced topic, getting off into a bit of a tangent here, because, you know, if speaking the truth helps to protect your life, or for some really, really important reason, then, you know, it's kind of like you have to weigh the outcomes in that situation. So it's not that you should not speak the truth if you know someone's not going to listen, but if you know it's going to protect someone and maybe save lives or preserve integrity, then, you know, by all means. But it's a discernment thing. You have to kind of cultivate your spiritual discernment. So anyway, you know, these different parts of me were kind of battling for who's gonna operate at the front of this place. You know, is it gonna be my fiery, protective, truth-speaking, self-advocating part? Or is it gonna be the relaxed, at ease, natural, receptive, peaceful, happy, springy, floral part? And I tried to, I think what happened was I got all these reflections from spiritual communities around me that saw my sensitivity and my, like, distaste and disgust with the energy around me, and they, sometimes with good intentions, sometimes with just total ignorance, would try to, you know, encourage me to break the shell, or really break the wisdom of my, what I see now as an energetic, emotional, psychic, immune response to energy that does not fit with me on a soul level. And being in a place that you hate, or being in a relationship, or being in some circumstance that you hate, as some guy in front of me opens up his door and just spits a huge mouthful of water, you know, purging, literally letting go of, like, the disgusting stuff that you don't want to carry or ingest. Like, being in a circumstance where you hate everything around you, and you feel the truth burning in your soul, and no matter how many times you speak it or acknowledge it, it's like that thing is never going to mirror back to you who you really are. So if you're in a situation where you are dealing with a circumstance, whether it's a relationship or an environment or whatever it is, where it doesn't reflect back your essence to you, and you want to be seen, you deserve to be seen, you want to be received, you want to feel this divine connection, then you have to move away from that thing and let it go, because it's never going to give you what you need. It might be able to recognize that it can't give you what it needs, or that, you know, you're different, or whatever, you know, you might still be able to feel that respect and recognition, but as long as it's not meeting you where you naturally are, and it's not changing, and that's how it is, then the truth of the matter is that you need to act with faith if you really, really want the thing that you say that you want, that you long for. So don't be afraid of that empty space between letting go of what doesn't work for you and calling in what works for you beyond what you can imagine. That empty space is a time to connect with the peace in your soul. That empty space is a time to cultivate your connection with God, your souls, your spirituality, your inner wisdom, to really listen to yourself and to become so connected to what's real inside of you that no matter how many dirty mirrors try to reflect back an illusion to you, you don't let it obscure your genuine view and understanding of yourself, so you don't lose yourself, you don't lose your soul. You can walk through the fire, you can walk through the mud, and you can remember who you are, and you can look forward to washing it off at the end of the road. So I hope that this message encourages whoever needs to hear it, and I am sending lots of love to you, and leave a comment if this resonated. If you have any words of encouragement, you want to share your own stories, I would love that, and I'm sure other people would too. So I'll see you next time.